Am I the antagonist for demanding my partner's sibling to get a job? I, 32-year-old female, have been in a relationship with my current boyfriend, 40-year-old male, for nearly a decade. About 4 years ago, we decided to purchase a home together and split our bills fairly based on our salaries. We usually get along very well until I brought up something that had been bothering me lately. For background, his sister, 50-year-old female, and brother-in-law, 55-year-old male, were going through a hard time financially. They moved states over a year ago to be closer to us, and we offered to help them get on their feet. By this I mean, they live in our home rent-free. At first, we paid all expenses they had, but when the brother-in-law got a job, we stopped paying for anything other than the mortgage, utilities, internet, and other subscription services. They live on one end of the house, and she is in charge of chores for her family, including cooking and laundry, for them specifically. I take care of anything for my boyfriend and I, including communal areas. This arrangement didn't bother me at first because I understand how hard it can be to find a job without a college degree or connections in the area. I get that. What bothers me is that about a month ago I was talking to the sister in the backyard about jobs, and she didn't seem in any hurry to get one. She states that she isn't sure she will even search for work because her husband and son, 19-year-old male also living with us, have both told her they don't want her to work. This is because they wanted to be able to get home to all chores done and a hot meal ready. With her working, they would have to contribute to chores and make their own meals. This rubbed me the wrong way because I work my butt off at a highly stressful job, but don't have the luxury of staying home. My boyfriend has on numerous occasions told me that he can't afford to maintain our home by himself, so staying home is off the table. Also, she is able-bodied and has nothing keeping her from finding work other than her husband and son. I told my boyfriend that I was annoyed that she doesn't try to find work because they know they don't have to pay rent, and I asked him to help her find a job. He told me I was being selfish and unreasonable because regardless of their presence, we still have to pay the mortgage. This started a huge argument because he told them that they could stay as long as they want. It's already been over a year, and he assured them he would never ask for rent money. He didn't consult me on this. I thought I was setting a boundary for their stay with us, but he is making me feel like I'm just jealous that I have to work and she doesn't. So, am I the asshole? First of all, let me just say you are definitely not the villain in this real-life soap opera. It sounds like you've been incredibly generous and accommodating to your boyfriend's family, and it's only natural to want some balance and fairness in the household. While the situation may have started as a noble gesture to help family in need, it seems to have taken a turn towards enabling a situation where your boundaries and needs are not being respected. It's understandable that you would feel frustrated seeing someone seemingly taking advantage of the situation, especially when you're working hard to maintain the home and support yourself. It's important to have open communication with your boyfriend about your feelings and concerns, as it seems there may be some misalignment in expectations and boundaries. Perhaps a serious sit-down conversation, or a family meeting, if you want to add some drama, is needed to address these issues and find a solution that works for everyone involved. In summary, setting boundaries and expecting mutual respect in a shared living arrangement is not selfish. It's necessary for a healthy and harmonious household. So in this tangled web of familial dynamics, you are definitely not the one spinning a web of deceit. Would I be the antagonist for suggesting to get rid of my stepchild's bedroom? My eldest stepchild is 19 and in her sophomore year of college. I also have 4 younger stepchildren, 12 years old male, 11 years old male, 8 years old male, and 6 years old female. Together my husband and I have an almost 3-year-old daughter and a newborn son. We live in a 5-bedroom house. My husband and I share our bedroom with our youngest son. The 2 youngest girls share a bedroom, and my 11-year-old and 8-year-old stepsons also share. Currently, only the 19-year-old and 12-year-old have their own bedrooms. We've previously prioritized the 12-year-old having his own bedroom because he spends around 60% of his time with us, whereas his younger half-siblings, 11, 8, and 6, have predominantly lived with their mom. As the oldest, my 19-year-old stepdaughter has always had her own room. My stepdaughter's mom lives about a 10-minute drive from us. When she's home from college, she mostly stays with her mom. I would say in the last 12 months she's slept over at our home around 15 nights. We've obviously seen a lot more of her than that, but even if she spends the day with us, she's likely to go back to her mom's house at night. Recently, the custody agreement between my husband and his ex-wife has changed, and their kids, 11, 8, and 6, are going to be splitting custody 50-50. All 3 are super happy about this news, and so are the rest of us. The sole complaint the boys have is that they would be sharing a room together more nights of the week. At their mom's house, the 11-year-old has his own room, and the younger 2 share. Obviously, in our house, it's a little different as there are more kids. Although the 12 and 11-year-old boys have both brought up the idea of sharing, my husband and I are against it. They go from being best friends one minute to mortal enemies the next. They need their own space to get away from each other when this happens. I want to bring up the idea of the eldest giving her bedroom to the 11-year-old so that all 3 boys have their own rooms. I think this makes the most sense right now. The room hardly gets any use and is used more as a guest room than the stepdaughter's bedroom anyway. She barely keeps any stuff in there anymore, and it seems silly to have an empty room while cramming 2 boys into a smaller bedroom. However, I'm apprehensive about suggesting this idea. My stepdaughter is very much her father's little princess. He may think I'm the jerk for suggesting it and see it as pushing his daughter further away. Even if he agrees, I'd be worried that if the stepdaughter takes the suggestion badly, he'd blame me. I honestly don't think she'll have an issue with it. She's not the type to make a fuss and tends to be quite easygoing these days. I also was thinking it could be a good opportunity to switch all the bedrooms and give all the kids' bedrooms a makeover. This way I could give the little girls their sister's room, which is the biggest, as they would be the only ones sharing. Would this make me an extra jerk? Taking away her bedroom and then giving her siblings new rooms? It sounds like you have a fun and chaotic household with a mix of ages and personalities under one roof. It's great to hear that the custody arrangement is changing to give all the kids more time together. It's like a constant slumber party. Considering the bedroom situation, it seems like a game of musical chairs, but with bedrooms. It's understandable that each child wants their own space to unwind from sibling squabbles, because let's be real, even the best of siblings can drive each other crazy sometimes. Proposing the idea of swapping rooms might be a good solution to make sure everyone has their own space. Your stepdaughter might not mind the change since she doesn't use the room much, and a little room makeover could make the transition more exciting for everyone. Plus, the little girls getting the big room might make them feel like royalty. Communication is key here. Make sure to involve everyone in the discussion so they feel heard and part of the decision. And remember, in a house full of kids, being the extra jerk is just part of the parenting gig. Am I the antagonist for calling my parent and telling them I was scared? Backstory: my husband tends to overshare all of our relationship issues with his dad. His dad then tells other people. His dad also tells me about all of his siblings' relationship problems. Great guy, but I believe my issues with my husband should be just between us two. We have gotten into arguments about the things he tells his dad. I only know he tells his dad because his dad tells me. So this weekend I was making a 14-hour road trip. I have never driven this far alone before, so as per my husband's advice, I saw a highway sign for lodging and planned on staying at that motel. It was a terrible experience. It was only me and the manager in the lobby. He asked if I was married, would give him a hug, if I would sleep with him. He told me I didn't have to tell my husband. I was terrified but also was too scared to ask for my card identification, back in case he would get mad and retaliate. I'm 5 feet tall and not scaring anyone. I was texting my husband and he called me when I told him I'm scared. We stayed on the phone and pretended he was meeting me there. The manager gives me my room key and I head to the room. I was planning on just locking the deadbolt, and honestly I was exhausted and wasn't thinking. I get to the room and the key doesn't work. My husband tells me to go back to the lobby and tell the manager. I refuse and think he will just try the key himself and shove me in the room. I want to get out of there and my husband argues that I'm just throwing my money away since I already paid. I am irate at this point. Never have I told my husband that I'm afraid. The one time I do, I don't feel validated. I yell at him and he hangs up. I'm still outside the door scared and don't know if I should stay or leave. I call my sister and she is with my mom. They tell me to get out of there. Once I was in my car and driving away, my husband calls repeatedly. I'm irate so I don't pick up. I'm driving and on the phone so I ask my sister to text him. She's safe but she doesn't want to talk. I drive a couple houses away to a nicer hotel and was on the phone with my mom the whole time. I told her my husband wanted me to stay and needed validation that leaving was the right choice. I don't think this situation is comparable to my husband telling his dad we fight about things like our seating charts. My husband said I'm a hypocrite and I can tell my mom my problems, but he can't tell his dad. I don't feel like I was calling her to complain about him, but because I felt unsafe. He doesn't see it that way. I understand your feelings of frustration and fear during this stressful situation, but can we take a moment to appreciate the fact that the most terrifying thing about your road trip turned out to be the motel manager's bizarre behavior? It's like a real-life plot twist, straight out of a B-list horror movie. However, on a more serious note, it's completely understandable that you felt unsafe and sought comfort and validation from your family. Your husband should have prioritized your well-being and supported your decision to leave the creepy motel without questioning it. Safety should always come first, even if it means throwing a reservation out the window, figuratively speaking, of course. Communication and support in times of distress are key in a healthy relationship, regardless of who you choose to confide in. In the end, it's important for both of you to address and respect each other's boundaries when it comes to sharing personal issues. But when it comes to safety concerns, there should be no room for debate. Stay safe on your future travels, and let's hope any future road trip dramas involve slightly less terrifying motel encounters. Am I the antagonist for planning on not attending my siblings, who is an asshole, wedding? My brother has decided to get married in August this year. For context, he is genuinely just not a nice individual. If I am completely honest, he is hypocritical and misogynistic. I think it is also important to consider that I am from a South Asian ethnic background, and weddings are incredibly important, and family image is also put on a pedestal irrespective of how the family relationships are. My household consists of my two parents, my brother, my sister, and myself. My parents, surprisingly, are not at all conservative or misogynistic, which is why it baffles me as to why my brother holds these views. He himself is no saint. In the past, he has been involved in various illicit activities and has had girlfriends which we knew about, and the family does not care. I myself am generally perceived as a strong, confident individual. I challenge him on his nonsense, and in the past, this has even led to physical altercations. There was a time where he was defending his ex-girlfriend to my parents for what was actually a mundane reason, and decided to put my sister down in the process to make his ex look good. I was 17 at that time, he was 24, and intervened and told him to keep the issue to himself. He got angry and threatened me to never get involved again or else. So I told him to shut up, and he physically attacked me and was actually strangling me. I fought back regardless, and my father came down and got into an altercation with him over the matter. Funnily enough, that same ex later cheated on him about a year after this event. After this, he tried to reconcile with me, and after a while, I let it go, although I have to admit internally I couldn't forgive him even after trying. He would then consistently use me for emotional support, which I gave since I felt bad. We had a decent relationship for a while after this until he once again started being a general jerk, and now we simply ignore each other unless he wants attention and tries to speak to me. However, I now ignore him as I have decided I do not want to maintain a relationship with an individual like this. My brother regularly talks about me behind my back to attempt to turn my mother against me. However, this does not work, but it is still enough to make me genuinely dislike him. Long story short, am I the jerk for planning to not attend his wedding in August, as I have the option of staying at my university studio and simply not showing up? Well, first of all, kudos to you for standing your ground and not putting up with your brother's nonsense. It sounds like you've been through a lot with him, and it's perfectly understandable that you don't feel like attending his wedding given the circumstances. In all honesty, it seems like your brother has some serious growing up to do, and maybe getting married will help him see the error of his ways, or not, who knows. But hey, you have every right to choose not to be a part of his special day if you feel uncomfortable or disrespected. Skipping the wedding and staying in your university studio sounds like a pretty good plan to avoid any unnecessary drama. Your mental health and well-being should always come first, so don't feel guilty for prioritizing yourself in this situation. In conclusion, you're definitely not the jerk here. Sometimes we have to make tough decisions for our own peace of mind, and if that means skipping out on a family wedding, then so be it. Just do what feels right for you and focus on your own happiness. Am I the antagonist for telling my sibling that I can't fix their problems for them and can't do anything about what happened with their kids and stepkids? My sister ended a bad marriage 5 years ago. Her children were 6 and 8 years old at the time, and they are now 11 and 13. My sister ended up getting together with a friend a year later. We knew him our whole lives, but they never got together until both were single parents as adults. He was a widower technically, but his ex-wife and he were separated and there were lots of problems. He also had sole custody of their 2 children who were 9 months and 2 years old at the time of the separation and are 5 and 7 now. My sister and Jeff, for the sake of this post, moved in together after a year of dating, and they got married last year. Before they got married, it was clear my sister's 2 children were not totally on board with Jeff and his children. They were fine, but not close to them. They didn't show Jeff the same trust they showed my sister or me or our parents, for example, and they didn't play with Jeff's children because they wanted to. If they were told to, they would do it, but it was clearly reluctantly and very much without any enjoyment. So a few weeks ago, 4-5-ish weeks ago, my sister decided to ask her children why they don't play with their younger siblings more, and the children said they're not their real siblings. She said they are step-siblings though, and family, and we play with those we love and who are part of our family. The children told her they didn't love their step-siblings. My sister had this conversation when Jeff and his children were in the house. Jeff was listening from the next room, but his children were in the other room next to it, and they also heard what my sister's children said. Of course, things have not been good since this, and my sister turned to me for help. She told me I needed to fix this because she was worried Jeff would leave to protect his children, and she was worried she wouldn't ever get her children to try to open up more to Jeff and his children. She was also worried they would hate her for marrying Jeff in the first place. She admitted she couldn't understand them not bonding with him better. One thing she kind of forgets is she has known him forever, but the children never met him before they became a couple. So they don't have a lifelong relationship where they liked and built trust with him from day one. I told her I couldn't fix her problems for her. All I could suggest is therapy, but I can't wave a magic wand. She said I should be able to do something as her sister and I need to do something about her children and stepchildren before there's no hope of them being close. I told her that was way out of my reach and again, therapy, but she might need to accept that they might never be as close as she wants them to be. She asked why, and I told her because she can't force love or a close bond. She told me I wasn't helping and I should be. Part of me wanted to tell her she should have come to me first because I would have told her not to have that conversation where her stepchildren could overhear. But it's too late for that now. Am I the asshole? You are not the asshole. It sounds like you are in the middle of a tricky situation involving delicate family dynamics. While it's certainly not an easy fix, it's important to approach this with patience and understanding. On the bright side, this could be an opportunity for your sister's children to learn valuable lessons about empathy and acceptance. Who knows, maybe one day they'll come to appreciate their step-siblings in their own time. In the meantime, therapy might be a good option to help navigate these complex emotions within the family. And hey, if all else fails, maybe a family game night with some extra ice cream could help break the ice. Best of luck! Am I the antagonist for realizing, days into emergency kinship placement, that we cannot do it? On Wednesday, I received an urgent call from my sister to go pick up her children from her ex-partner's house because Child Protective Services, CPS, was there due to drug allegations. The house was also filthy. There was no running water and no gas because it was piled with trash. A caseworker starts calling me as well. I felt like I had to immediately drop what I was doing and rush over there to get them so they wouldn't go to foster care. I picked them up and brought them home. They are twin 10-year-olds and their sister is 5. Their sister is not a blood relation to me, but I was still told to take all of the children. While at the father's house, the caseworker tells the father it's going to be a removal case and he should think about allowing me to take temporary guardianship so the 1-year timer to get clean and sober doesn't start so quickly. In the moment, I agree. Over these last few days, we've had to allow him open opportunity to see the kids. Thursday was okay and the CPS worker stopped by to look through our home as well while he was there. The caseworker gave me no assistance or advice, just told the father he has to come to my house by himself and not high. He came over high on Friday and continually passed out in the chair and was hard to wake by his children. We have a 5-year-old girl ourselves and an almost 13-year-old. We live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 12-square-foot home. We flipped the whole house upside down and combined our kids in one room so these 3 children could have the other. It has been very hard the last few days keeping this place cleaned and not being on top of each other. My 5-year-old is very emotional and upset and having a hard time adjusting. I texted the worker last night and told him we can't do the long-term temporary guardianship anymore after having serious concerns and serious doubts about being able to provide the appropriate care these children with trauma need. There has not been any paperwork signed yet, except the initial safety plan the day of, nor anything through the courts. He didn't respond, so I'm assuming he will read the message and call tomorrow on Monday. We also are having a hard time with this person very clearly on drugs, being able to be in and out of our home and in front of our kids, who have never seen this before in their lives. Some backstory here is that my sister lost custody of these children 10 years ago due to a CPS case for drug use. Her rights were terminated through the state. I have not seen nor spoken to these children in their whole lives. My sister and I were not close until these recent years and she lives clear across the country from the state. The kids and I are in. I felt bulldozed and pressured to immediately go get them. Am I the asshole for realizing we cannot handle this entire situation and asking for them to be placed elsewhere? It is not the children's fault at all. It is the rest of the situation that is hard. I don't want them to stay and get attached here when we cannot provide the best long-term support and space for them. Wow, what a whirlwind of events. First of all, kudos to you for stepping up in a time of crisis. Handling a sudden situation like this is no easy task, especially with such high stakes involved. It's clear that you genuinely care about the well-being of these children. However, it seems like the circumstances have quickly escalated into a challenging situation, to say the least. Juggling 3 extra children on top of your own can definitely throw a household into chaos, especially when dealing with a father who's not exactly in the best state to be around his kids. Considering the gravity of the situation and the emotional toll it's taking on your family, it's completely understandable that you've reached a breaking point. It's important to recognize your own limitations and be honest about what kind of care you can realistically provide. As much as it may feel like a tough call, prioritizing the long-term well-being of these children is crucial. If you feel that you're not equipped to offer them the support they need, it's responsible to speak up and seek alternative arrangements that can better cater to their specific needs. In the end, it's not about being an asshole, but about recognizing when a situation is beyond your current capacity and bravely addressing it. Seek the best solution for all involved, even if it means making a difficult decision. Stay strong, and remember that taking care of yourself and your family's well-being is just as important. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.